What's up, Barnhill family, and welcome back to the channel.
Yo.
So UFC 279 this weekend, Chimaev versus Diaz. The odds makers are saying, look, this one's going to be a bloodbath. Are we missing something here? Nate Diaz is one of the toughest guys we've ever seen compete inside the octagon, but nobody is giving him a chance at all. Is it truly as lopsided as the odds makers are saying that it is, or can Nate Diaz do something here and shock the world?
As much as I hate to say that Nate Diaz doesn't have a shot in a fight, it seems to me like this is a really, really tough one for him, and stylistically just isn't his matchup. If I was Nate Diaz, this would not be the fight I would want to have as my last fight in the UFC. It seems like Chimaev is a hitman that's coming in, paid for by the UFC to take out a guy who's been kind of a thorn in their side. You know, he's been saying things like he wants to fight Francis Ngannou for his last fight on his contract, and he wants to go box Jake Paul, but the UFC won't release him. To be true, Dana is definitely giving him a good last fight. I mean, he's the main event against the hottest prospect in the sport right now, and he's going to be doing major numbers on this fight. It's a non-title fight in the main event slot. These are unprecedented things that very few in the sport are capable of attaining, and Nate Diaz is proving that even on his last fight in the UFC, and basically his exit is the biggest fight the UFC can make.
Yeah, this is a huge fight. Chimaev is obviously the biggest rising star the UFC's had since Conor McGregor, and his skill set is complete. And you talked about the stylistic matchup, and I don't give Nate Diaz much of a shot in this fight either. I don't think this is going to be a situation like we saw with Leon Edwards where he can pull a rabbit out of his hat at the last second and almost finish the fight with a good combination at the end of the fifth round. I think that Chimaev's style is tailor-made to defeat Nate Diaz. Nate is a large 155er who's competing at 170. He's not particularly strong. He's not particularly fast. He's got insanely good cardio. He's got pretty good boxing, and he's got great jiu-jitsu from the bottom. But I don't think that that's going to match up well against a young, powerful, very confident fighter who's got insanely good wrestling, awesome top pressure, and vicious ground and pound. My early prediction, honestly, is going to be doctor stoppage in between the first and second round because I think Khamzat's going to land a few shots on the feet. I don't think he's going to want to stand and trade like he did against Gilbert. I think he has sewn up some of the shortcomings in his game, and he doesn't have to go out there and prove that he's a tough guy. He proved that against Gilbert Burns. I think he's going to mix it up on the feet for a little bit, throw a few shots, and then I think we're going to see Khamzat take Nate down and give him a beating. And I think in between the first and second round, Nate's scar tissue in his face could present such a problem with the blood that they call it a day. It is in Vegas, so they are a little bit more lenient with the blood and the cuts and things like that, but I don't see this one going much past the third. If it goes past the third, I would be extremely surprised.
Yeah, for the fans' sake, I hope the doctor ringside is one of the ones who's a little bit lenient and understands the history of the Diaz brothers. They start bleeding as soon as they get hit. And a couple of things that stick out to me with this fight. It's 5 rounds, so you always have to give the Diaz boys a little bit of a chance to pull on later in the rounds, the 4th and 5th. That's where they really start to shine. They just happen to not make it there all the time because they start to bleed so much. That's what happened against Jorge Masvidal. I was convinced that if it would have gone into round 4 and round 5, Nate probably would have at least won one of them. What's unfortunate for Nate Diaz, in my opinion, is that Khamzat Chimaev had a great fight, best test he's ever had just before this against Gilbert Burns. If Khamzat Chimaev had never fought Gilbert Burns, my opinion on this fight would be different because I think he would be that crazy, brash guy who wants to go in there and beat you at your own game. He's going to go try to strike and box with Nate Diaz. You know, that was the Chimaev before the Gilbert Burns fight. And he realized that he made a lot of mistakes in that fight. He wasn't overly impressed with his performance against Gilbert Burns, and he said he had a lot of things to work on. And I think what we're going to see Chimaev do is stick to a game plan a little bit better than he did against Gilbert Burns. Nate Diaz is going to be there for him to kick. He's going to be there for him to take down. He is somewhat of a threat when it comes to fighting off the ground and off the back, but these guys that wrestle their whole lives, these guys like Chimaev, these Dagestani wrestlers that come out of Russia, they don't get submitted from being on top. They can sit in your guard all day long. You're not going to throw up a triangle and submit them, but they will rain down shots on you. And if you start bleeding and you aren't intelligently defending yourself, the ref will stop you or the doctor will have to step in because it's just too bloody and too much of a mess. So those types of reasons are why I think Khamzat Chimaev is going to try to make this as much of a clinic as he can. He's going to try to beat him on the feet and beat him on the ground, but he's not going to take crazy risks like he did against Gilbert Burns, which could leave him compromised and open for a crazy shot like Nate Diaz landed against Leon Edwards.
Yeah, I don't see him doing that either. I think you're absolutely right. He's going to stick to a good game plan. He's the Chechnyan exception to the Dagestani wrestlers. He's got the chin beard and everything, not from the same exact location, but I mean, my God, are all of those guys incredible grapplers. And I honestly think, as good as Nate Diaz is from the bottom, I would be less surprised if Charles Oliveira submits Islam from the bottom than I would be if Nate submits Khamzat from the bottom. I think that just stylistically, it's not there for him. It's not going to happen. The strength differential, the power differential, and quite frankly, the skill differential, especially when he gets to the ground from that top position. I don't see this being very competitive. I see this being Khamzat Chimaev's true coming out party as the #1 contender, and I see Leon Edwards sitting on pins and needles and being very nervous after what I think is going to be a flawless victory for Chimaev come Saturday night.
Yeah, this is a calculated move for the UFC. They're putting him in there against the second biggest star the sport's arguably ever seen, and I think this is going to be a great day for him. I think he's going to be known worldwide by even more people after this one, and unfortunately for Nate, he's just going to likely take the beating.
I think you're right. Thanks for watching this video, guys. We're your hub for all things combat sports. If that's your jam, we appreciate a subscribe and a like on the video, and drop us a comment down below. We'll see you next time.
Peace.